My name is Sophie, 49 years old. My husband Kevin and I have been married for 20 years, and our son just moved out of state for college last year, so we recently have more time to ourselves. I have just started working part-time to help fund my son. I had been a stay-at-home mom since my son was born, so I had a lot of trouble getting the hang of things at first. However, these days, I have started to feel that I'm making a difference in the workplace, and my opinions have been adopted, which I find very rewarding. Hey Kevin, I've heard that I'm going to get a small raise. It's nice to have your hard work appreciated, isn't it? I was in a happy mood, so I talked to Kevin, who was watching TV in a daze. Then,
So you mean you can live on your own now?
my husband suddenly asked me something out of the blue. What? I thought I had misheard, so I gave him a confused look.
It's good timing, actually. I was about to tell you.
He turns to me and starts talking. The grin on my husband's face gives me a bad feeling.
I've got a new cute girlfriend, so I don't need you anymore.
My mind freezes at the unexpected words.
Get the divorce papers and marriage resignation from the country office tomorrow.
He said without a second thought. It was so sudden that I didn't know what was going on. What do you mean? Do you mean I'm divorcing you because I found a new woman? I'm getting remarried to her. As the situation became clearer, I could feel my body trembling. My husband laughed at me.
I can still live as a man. Unlike you, who gave up on being a woman a long time ago. We haven't made love in so long that there's no point in staying together.
How rude of him. Let him say all he wants. What he said was true about making love, but that doesn't mean I abandoned being a woman. In fact, I don't want a flabby middle-aged man to ask me to feel attracted to him sexually. I was angry, but at the same time, I burst out in laughter for some reason. I'm tired, I'm busy, I don't feel like it. Wasn't it you who said all these things and avoided me? It's hilarious that you want to live as a man now. Then my husband's face suddenly turned grim.
What's so funny? Don't be silly, old hag.
He was rough and foul with me like that. Then he folded his arms and leaned back.
You're a far cry from Melody. She's in love with me, and she even says I'm the best. She brags that I'm the best boyfriend she'd ever had. On the other hand, how about you? You got a raise, eh? You are such a small-minded airhead feeling happy about such a thing.
Kevin was apparently very proud of this Melody and started looking down on me. Melody? Was that her name? Melody? Melody? We're not in music class here. Kevin then proudly started to introduce Melody's background. She's in her mid-20s, more than 10 years younger than me, and has a nighttime job. And she's pregnant with his child. Nowadays, it is not usual to have a marriage with a big difference in age, but a parent having a child with a woman not much older than his son? Just the thought was horrific.
You know, in life, you need love. You're like a cold, stiff, dried-up mango, while Melody is like a freshly picked one. It's not worth spending money on you.
My husband attacked me with his words. So it's love bought with money. So you are putting aside the fact that you're going to get shriveled up and choose a young, hot girl. I see. So you've switched to a young girl who is just after money and has no moral restraint about cheating with a married man. When I pointed this out to him, he spit as he shouted,
I told you it's not about money. It's about love. Anyways, I'm serious. I need to marry Melody and reassure her happiness as soon as possible. Pack up your stuff and get out of here as soon as possible.
Well, How good is he at laying out all his reasons? I was so stunned, I was out of words. At the same time, I found it somewhat comical. How long had it been since this person had used the word love to me? I'm sure this Melody woman be in the same position as me after a while. With time and with age, such temporary feelings just fade away. Rather, I think that the terrible words my husband is throwing at me now will be directed at this Melody next. You really are a lousy man. I should have realized this before we got married. When I think about it, I have taken on all the housework and childcare. My husband, instead of lending a helping hand, began to criticize me for not doing enough of this and that, even though it was a time when such things were still common. He never said a single word of appreciation, let alone love. And then, after all my hard work, he disposed of me and replaced me with a younger woman. He was insane. But Kevin seems to take my words as a sign of defeat.
Well, it's all good then. Anyway, I will finish the paperwork on my next day off. Just make sure you have both of them ready.
He said this and left for his room. For the next few days, I had sleepless nights and tears of frustration, but I tried to appear unfazed. The next day off, my husband had invited the woman over to our house. "Hi, Kevin's old wife. I've come to take care of the paperwork." The woman, Melody, sat on the sofa humming a tune and crossed her legs high in the air. As Kevin said, she was young, and you can tell from her behavior that she is confident about her appearance. She worked in a nightclub, so she had heavy makeup and revealing clothes that were designed to show off her breasts. Her skirt was so short that even I, as a woman, had trouble deciding where to look. But I sensed that she was not in love with Kevin. If my intuition is right, her purpose must be already prepared for divorce. I confronted her. I didn't want to resist, but I was caught up in her words and actions. "You're a Melody, right? Did you start dating Kevin knowing he was a married man? And by calling me his old wife, I assume you understand both our positions in the relationship." She giggles. "I'm not stupid. Don't underestimate me, old woman. You're the one who is going to get dumped, and I'm going to be Kevin's wife from now on. See? It's that simple." She smirked and scorned me. "Well, I'm glad you answered so smoothly. I got it all on tape. So of course you know that I can claim alimony from you, right?" I showed her the recorder, recording our conversation. She looked annoyed and cold. "Kevin, you said your old wife was going to be easy. This is not what you told me," and complained to my husband. Kevin tried to calm her down.
Don't worry about it. I've got it all covered. What's the matter, Mel? Don't be so angry.
Kevin, Mel? Their conversation was disgusting. As I was frowning at them, my husband pulled out the document.
I want you to write the divorce papers with these conditions.
There, the terms of divorce, including alimony and pension division, were written down. What? You're going to give this woman $300,000? The money for me is going to be all gone. I didn't need to press the issue, but she was very open about what was going on in her head. She kept repeating all gone, and so I was convinced. She was after my husband's father's inheritance, currently undergoing the process of inheriting.
It's okay, Mel. This includes child support for my son.
My husband, who is trying to quiet her, seems to find even her blatant attitude endearing. So it's a severance package. That's expensive. I struggled to contain my anger that had reached its peak. Anyway, I was convinced that my intuition was right, so I added, if you can notarize the terms of the divorce, This will be fine. And please make the payment in one lump sum. I kept my response to a minimum, and my husband agreed to these terms, knowing that our conversation was being recorded. Are you done yet? We finished filling out the divorce papers under the urge of the bored woman. Old wife, you have to leave here by the end of the month, okay? I'm going to cancel the lease on the place I'm living in. I will file for divorce when it's notarized. As soon as that's done, I'll leave. When I replied, she grumbled and complained again with a disgruntled look on her face, as if she was planning to move out right away, but left without any choice. After some time, the notarization process was completed, and we were divorced. And just as if she was waiting for that, she came to kick me out. Come on, get out of here! She was extremely cheerful. We've just registered our marriage. Now I'm Kevin's wife. This lovely house is mine. She was annoyingly excited, dancing around the room, so I reluctantly handed her the key to the front door. I wanted to make sure of something before I left. Isn't Kevin about the same age as your parents? If you call me an old woman, then Kevin, who is older than me, is an old man, right? Why did you choose such a man to marry? I asked her. Her open and honest answer was exactly what I expected. Kevin is the general manager of the prestigious company. This house had been remodeled a while ago and is close to the station. It's a stylish house too. I will just have to buy new furniture to my liking. She was dreaming. Kevin treats me like a princess. He's old and not handsome, but he says he will buy me anything I want. She sneered at me, as if to say, my future is secure. I hope you get your way then. With a sigh, I left the house I had lived in for so many years. I then moved into our college dormitory. I was hired as a living dorm staff, quite a rarity these days. I had been working in a company cafeteria until then. When I explained my situation to my part-time employer, that I was leaving Kevin for a fresh start, my boss, who appreciated my usual work, called the head office. I was grateful to accept the job at the dormitory, which had just become vacant due to the retirement of an employee. I was so glad I had my nutritionist certification. The rent and utilities are super cheap. I don't have a lot of free time to go out, but it is a very comfortable and fun place to work. About 3 months into my new life, I received a phone call from my ex-husband.
Mom is having a hard time. I need you to help me take care of her.
What kind of person would say such a thing? You and I are strangers now. It makes sense for your new wife to take care of her, doesn't it? When I point out the most obvious thing, he said,
Melody is pregnant. Mom has dementia and throws things around, so it's too dangerous.
So it's okay for her to throw things at me? That's great logic, but no thank you. I don't want anything to do with you anymore, so don't you dare call me again. I pushed him away violently. I have known his mother for 20 years, and although we didn't have any major battles, we didn't get along with each other that well. Besides, I had just started my new life on my own, so I couldn't afford to take care of her elsewhere. But my husband somehow found out where I was and came to see me with that woman.
I need some help. If you can't take care of her, then I want the money back that I paid as alimony.
That's another insane thing to say. I don't think I'm obligated to comply with such a demand. When I coldly rejected, Melody glared at me with a terrible look in her eyes. Old hag! You knew everything, you liar! The inheritance I was counting on was nothing, and he's in debt! With a shout of abuse, the papers she had thrown at me were scattered about. Don't you call me a liar? You just assured that Kevin had a fortune. Oh, please. I intentionally shrugged and shook my head. When I was going through the inheritance process of my late father-in-law, I found out that he actually owed a lot of money. If that were all, we could have simply renounced the inheritance. But to my surprise, Kevin had canceled my father-in-law's cell phone and converted his household goods and precious metals into cash. The law prohibits the renunciation of inheritance if the property is touched before the procedure, and that is exactly what happened. As a result, the debt fell directly on them. So I told them proudly. Kevin had thrown all the inheritance procedures to me, and he didn't try to listen to my words. But Melody, he took his father's property in order to get enough money to continue the relationship with you.
I think you should have told me something so important,
Kevin complains. But that's exactly what I wanted to say. You didn't listen when you should have. So you two have to take responsibility now. What? I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't know. She's pale-faced and flustered.
So you're just going to take the money and run away?
They were coming at me, but I didn't care. That's a funny thing to say. If you hadn't cheated on your wife, you didn't have to make money for your affair partner, and you could have renounced the inheritance with no problem. You're the one who definitely caused this situation. He growled and backed away as if frightened. And you're the one who knew he was married, had relations with him for his property, had a child with him, and kicked me out, right, Melody? You're in that position now because you earned it, I told the woman, young enough to be my daughter. If this was going to happen, I don't need such an old man. I still had something to say. Do you remember the notarized divorce papers? I got alimony, pension division, and child support from Kevin. But separate from that, I can claim alimony from you. What? Is $300,000 not enough for you? You are so greedy. She shouts and curses at me. Well, I was going to forget about it if you guys would just leave me alone now, that I'm no longer a part of your lives. But you have been unreasonable, demanding that I take care of your mother and return the already paid alimony and so on. I've lost my patience with this kind of behavior. I told her that I still have a recording of the conversation about the terms of the divorce, and that I was serious about filing a claim for alimony. By then, she started running away without looking back. I watched her run and turned to Kevin, who was still standing there. How can she run that fast when she is in the last trimester of her pregnancy? Is she really pregnant? And she's gone now. So, what were you saying about love? Kevin gasped at my question.
It's all my fault, and I'm sorry. So please come back.
He looked so old and tired as he pleaded with tears in his eyes. No, thank you. You're welcome to leave now.
Sophie!
My ex-husband, who was crying aloud, was pathetic. But considering what he had done, there was no need for forgiveness. Then, as I predicted, Melody disappeared, leaving the signed divorce papers. Apparently, the pregnancy was also a lie. My ex-husband was left alone to take care of his dad and his mother, and he was now thin from exhaustion and overwork. My new life in the dormitory seems to suit me, and recently, I have been getting compliments on how young I look, honestly, without I will continue to live honestly without conceit. Everyone, please be careful in the event of a divorce.